Hello and welcome back to a new light novel review for The Empty Box and Zeroth Maria, written by Eiji Mikage. And I think it's his first name published officially in English, and I really have to say that this light novel is fantastic. No wonder it's up on the #1 spot of light novels on my anime list. And I've read this volume already a couple of years ago, and reading it once again, it made me realize that I still freaking love this light novel because it's so good. But what's this about? We have basically the setting of the boxes. There's a being that gives boxes to people, and these boxes can grant a wish. And that doesn't sound that crazy or strange or unique at all, but the way it is used, especially in this volume, it makes it fantastic. So this volume is basically a mystery novel combined with, well, time loops. And what we go through are the different loops of the same day to try to figure out who is the owner of the box and who is behind all this, and not even that, but more so the reason why. And not only is it why we want to know that this loop is happening, the reason of it, but also why is this being giving boxes to people that are granting wishes. And I really have to say that in this volume we have fantastic characters. We have a wide cast of memorable, entertaining, interesting characters. You are invested into them, and by the end of it you feel sorry for them, pity you just want to hug them and stuff like this, because, well, not only is this a mystery with a time loop, but add a bit of psychological horror to it and tragedy. And it's not just tragedy like, oh, someone died, tragic, that's the end of it. No. This is tragedy at its best, in my opinion. It's tragedy that goes beyond that simple dying. It's more because we have... Let me use something from the book as well. The sweetness of pure white despair. And boy, I love this. When it comes to bringing you the drama, the psychological horror elements, and then the tragedy, the despair, you are like, damn, that's heavy. And like I've said, I've read it twice now, and even in the second read now, it was still crawling under my skin. It was giving me goosebumps. I realized once again why I love this light novel so much. And it's because it hits all the right spots. We have the characters who are really great written characters, and as you know, we have characters that from light novels like written by Nishio Ishin, the Monogatari series, or My Youth Romantic Comedy As Wrong As I Expected. Great written characters, right? In that school slice of life story, or with the Monogatari series, the kind of supernatural stuff going on as well. In this one, we have both of them as well. We have kind of with the time loop thing, the supernatural, but we have also the great written characters, and we have quite a bit also of exposition of what is happening, why is it happening, and stuff that is going on that you would like, okay, yeah, it's kind of getting tired now, but it's spread throughout the volume. It's not just put into 30-40 pages at once, because throughout this volume we have point A, and by the end of the volume we know who the owner of the box is, who was causing the loops, also for the reason why. And we had also the first glimpse of why the being is giving the boxes and what that being's goal is. And with the characters, I really have to say that this, even though I really don't want to use the word deconstruction here, but this one would be pretty much the prime example of how to deconstruct the slice of life stories, comedy ones we have, and put it together into this mystery time loop filled with tragedy, despair, psychological horror, and you have something great. And for example, with ReZero, on one side we have the huge comedy stuff with Konosuba, and then we have the deconstruction version of it, which is basically ReZero. Put the character into fantasy world, but then let him die over and over again until he figures out how he can get past this point. With this, we have the different loops of the same day, and the way it happens, and hell, we don't really have even chapters in it. Like, okay, here's a chapter, it's a good point to put the book down if you have something to do, right? But in this one, it's a constant flow. And like I said, we have no real chapters. The closest thing we have would be the different loops. And some of those loops are as short as 1 or 2 lines, and others go on for several pages. So this would be the closest that I would call a chapter, but it's still seriously hard to put that book down anyways, so at best I would say read it in an evening if you have a couple of hours time. Sit down, pick up this book and start reading it, because like I said, it's seriously hard to put it down. And for the characters, like I said, it's kind of deconstruction of the slice of life way. We have Kazuki, the protagonist, who is really obsessed with his mundane, everyday life. He doesn't want anything special or crazy out of the blue happen. He just wants to enjoy this day-to-day life that he had up to this point. We have Otonashi Aya, aka Maria, who is trying to find the owner of the box that is causing the time loop. And we have then Usui, kind of the best friend of Kazuki, who is a bit of a jokester, the kind of basic best friend you see, going for the jokes, going for the laughs, and doing quite a lot of stuff that you would say is, oh yeah, that stupid best friend we have seen 1,000 of times. And yet, it's still memorable. It's a character that I think is needed, not only for the story, but also for the characters in this story as well. With, I think Kokono was her name, the girl with the she has a thing for makeup, for being stylish, and she's also teasing Kazuki and Usui quite a lot. With Daya, I think was his name, he's more of the kind of serious type, not the much of the jokester, or the stern type of person, who is saying a lot of lines that are meant to help you out, figure out why and what is happening, but also kind of trying to mislead you. And then we have Kazumi, or Mogi, how she's called, and she's this very sweet character who is kind of the person of interest when it comes to Kazuki's crush. So yeah, he has a thing for her, and it's really nice to see that happening. And even though he's questioning himself, when did he come to like her? And it kind of brought me back to when I fell in love for the first time, and I was like, damn, how did that happen? Because it was a person I wasn't really best friend. I knew that person, but at some point it's damn, how did that happen? So it was kind of relatable. And you know, it's often said that you can't control with which person you fall in love with. So yeah, but it's really lovely and nice to see that this is questioned by the protagonist himself. And then for the next character we have the being who gives the boxes away, and hell, it's kind of the same with the Madoka Magica with Kyubei. I can't bring myself to call this being bad, in the sense of, well, that's a villain for sure. I just can't, it's crazy. So yeah, for the characters, it's a cast of memorable characters, great characters, with some really nice dialogues going on. And this brings me to the writing of this book, and it's written in first person. And most of the time the point of view character is Kazuki. At some points we switch to another character, but it happens just a few times. I think 3, 4, maybe 5 times at most. For the rest of the time we follow Kazuki, and we have a lot of his thoughts to read, and it feels much more like that it was that we are in his position. And yet he's not a character that is totally bland, that would be, oh yeah, this is character type A, which is meant to be the insert for the reader. So yeah, it's kind of strange to describe it, but I really have to say that this writing is top notch. And in my opinion, it is not second to the writing of Nishio Ishin or the writer of Snafu. Because both of them are really, really good writers when it comes to the characters. And with this one, Mikage, he's just standing right next to them. He's writing the characters in a way that you remember them, they have distinct personalities, and you can't help but be invested in them, because the way he creates this story, it's seriously hard to not come to like the characters. And then you see, which brings me maybe a bit of a spoiler territory, but I kind of try to keep it spoiler free as much as I can. When it comes to the psychological horror elements and the despair. It's written in such a fantastic way that the first time I read it, I was speechless. After I finished this book the first time, I put it down and I was like blown away. What the hell did I just read? What is this grand piece of a novel? And it's still the same when I read it the second time. Even though I knew who was the owner of the box and what was going on, but reading it for the second time and just going through most of the time the same experience again with the characters, especially when it comes to the despair, the tragedy. It was incredible. And by the end of the novel, at one point you could kind of say that it was a happy end for this particular volume, because even if the story wouldn't continue, it had an ending. It was the first part of the story, it had an ending. We still have the overarching story with the being giving away the boxes and has a reason why he's doing it. But at this point, we have an ending, and seeing the story as it ended and seeing the owner of the box, the reason why the owner of the box got the box and also why that wish was chosen, it was like, yeah, I can see why. So it's not like, oh damn, that's a stupid wish. No, it's a wish that was totally relatable. And to be honest, it's hard to say that if you were in this position, it's hard to say that maybe you or I wouldn't have chose the same. So yeah, at this part it was really relatable, and then after the issue with the loop was solved, we had still the owner of the box, and the owner was in the hospital because the wish came to be because that character was involved in an accident and it looked really, really bad, and then the being came, gave the box, and well, it is able to grant you a wish. And then she chose to not having any regrets, so it's that part of the story. And then at the end of it, with all being solved, the loop being ended, we find out that this character survived and now is coming to terms with the kind of harsh future of not being able to walk on the own 2 feet anymore. Needing someone to take care of, needing a wheelchair, stuff like this. But still being happy to be alive. And this is also part of the book that was addressed. It was the loneliness. Even though you had people around you, the loneliness, being isolated. Trying to keep this happy-go-lucky outside appearance. And then having that one character seeing through it, seeing the true nature, and then being, well, fascinated by it and becoming quite obsessed with it, and then realizing by the end of it that, well, it may be love, but most of the time it was just the clinging to the light or the hope or the little bit of something that keeps you sane and not having you fall down back into the pit of loneliness and sadness and despair. So yeah, I really have to say that this is a fucking great light novel. So yeah, and I'm talking for, I don't know, like 20 minutes or something like this. But it's just that this light novel, it's fucking fantastic. So yeah, and I think I will end it now because I'm talking for way too long. Sorry for this once again, but yeah, as I said, it's a really, really fantastic read, and I really hope you will enjoy it as well. So yeah, as said, as RB, it's time to say my usual line. That's it for now. Thanks for watching, and I hope I will see you guys next time as well. See ya!